Talk Radio 680 WCBM.
Law Talk with Bill Sherwood is brought to you by Sherwood Legal Services.
The lawyers on air are not able to give advice about any given person's legal problem over the air. Giving legal advice requires confidentiality. Attorney-client privilege won't protect conversations literally being broadcast from a radio. If you call into this show, the attorneys don't represent you unless you sign a retainer. No paperwork, no representation. You have no expectation of privacy or attorney-client privilege on a call. This is a live broadcast. It does not get less confidential than this. The attorneys can't predict how any given legal matter will turn out. Lawyers give legal advice. They can't give you tailored advice about your legal problems without an in-person interview. Please call in with your general legal questions.
This is Talk Radio 680, WCBM and WCBM.com. It's time now for Law Talk with Bill Sherwood.
Good afternoon. Thanks for spending this beautiful Sunday afternoon with us. If you're in listening to the radio, why? Go outside. But take the radio with you. Keep us on. Today, we are going to have a conversation about family law and how to avoid having your own very own Jerry Springer episode, hopefully. We have a guest with us as well. Hassan Barnes is joining us. He's a family law attorney. We also have Yosef Cooperman and John Cook returning. And, of course, I'm Bill Sherwood. A little bit about myself. I'm Bill Sherwood, and I have a law firm called Sherwood Legal Services over in Hamden in Baltimore City. And next, I'll allow Hassan to introduce himself.
Thank you, Bill. My name is Hassan Barnes. I'm the principal of the law office of Hassan D. Barnes, LLC. We're located in Mount Washington, and we do various things, but here today we do family law. And we want to talk about family law, whether divorce, custody, child support, and some options you may have.
Yosef?
Hi, I'm Yosef Cooperman. I work for the law office of Robert L. Symes. We represent policyholders and insurers in litigation about insurance. I swear it's not boring.
And good afternoon. This is John Coke. I'm with the Coke Insurance Agency. I've been around the Baltimore area, born in Baltimore, but have been in the insurance business for about 26 years. We represent and protect families with the things that matter most to them with their auto, home, and life. And I'm here hopefully to add an insurance perspective to some of the conversation. So thanks.
So, I think our next thing on the list is enlighten us with a nice lawyer joke, Yosef.
Client shows up at a lawyer's office. He's there to get divorced. The lawyer says, okay, well, I do divorces, so first, do you have any family members? And he says, well, I've got 3 kids, I've got the soon-to-be ex, and I've got the girlfriend. He was like, okay, and do you have how much stuff do you have? Because the divorce has to divide up the stuff. He says, oh, well, I've got the houses, I've got my house, I've got my vacation house, I've got the girlfriend's house. I've also got 5 Massing Jaguars, some Mercedes, and, $100,000 in unmarked bills. The lawyer says, okay, I can do this. You can keep the kids. I'll take the rest.
Another one that pops in my head, too, is, why was a divorce so expensive? You keep hearing the guys go, because it's so worth it. When family law when families take a hard turn, people start, pulling out the knives almost, metaphorically speaking, hopefully, and things get ugly fast. And that's where, you hear a lot of resentment and everything else. And I know I've heard it from clients. I know Hassan has probably heard quite a few horror stories from people. One of the things that can be done to try to avoid a lot of the headaches is in the beginning is with a prenuptial agreement. So maybe we should talk a little bit about that first.
Sure. Prenups are contractual obligations both parties have before you get married, hence before nuptials. The goal is to have a plan before you get married. Typically, people who have prenups are high income earners, business owners, and the rich and famous often have prenups. A prenup shields your assets from your spouse. When you're married, anything you acquire is called marital property, which means it belongs to other person. If you're married and say you're a dad, you're making $150,000 a year, you're married to a stay-at-home wife and you have 2 kids, well, The whole 150 is half her money as well. So anything you buy with that 150 belongs to your wife as well. So in the event you separate, she's going to say, okay, where's my half? And you're going to say, well, I worked for it. I worked hard for it. And the court will say, well, no, that was her money too. So anything you bought with that money is hers. When you do a prenup, it shields you by contract from losing any asset that you could have otherwise lost. Example of that would be a business. If you start or if you plan on starting a business prior to marriage, you may want to shield any growth of the business that would have happened during the marriage. So say you bought a McDonald's franchise or a Wawa franchise before the marriage. But while you're married, you have a chance to grow it, and you expect when you buy it to grow it and to increase the asset. Well, any additional growth in while the actual business isn't marital property, the growth of the business could be seen as marital property. The time you put into the business. So if you were to divorce, the wife will say, well, I don't want the business, but I want a portion of the growth, of the equity that you've made in the business since then. A way to prevent that is from saying, well, how about let's do a prenup? Or if you plan to open businesses while you're married, which would be marital property, you can shield them by saying the prenup, anything I acquire while we're married won't be yours. What a prenup does is do things in a way that's fair on the front end. So you can say, well, I may acquire new businesses. You have no interest in it. If we get divorced, I'll give you this much money. So that way there's no dispute, there's no question. And a prenup is a way to do it in a reasonable way where neither party is upset. When you're going through a divorce, it's emotional. People are angry. People want blood. So what they go for may be more than what they otherwise would. And prenup limits lawyer fees. When you already know what you can get and can't get, there's no need to fight for more. The issue is whether or not the prenup is done in a valid way. If the person signing the prenup doesn't have a right to a lawyer or didn't have a lawyer look over it, it may be able to be challenged. They may say, well, I didn't have a right to an attorney. They gave it to me when I was at the altar. It said, sign right here.
Duress.
The court likely wouldn't find that was a valid prenup. They would say, well, she or he, as the case may be, didn't have time or the chance to hire counsel to advise them properly. So it may not hold. Well, years ago when I was in law school, there was a case where I think Barry Bonds was married. He married a young lady who didn't speak English. He took her to the
Yankees, right? Barry Bonds of the Yankees. Okay.
He took her to a baseball player. He took her to his lawyer, and they read the prenup to her, and they gave her a chance to get her own lawyer. Now, to me, it seemed unreasonable because she didn't speak English. So the idea that they explained things to her and gave her the opportunity to get a lawyer, to me, seemed kind of suspect, but the court upheld it. If my memory serves me correctly, the court still found that she had a chance to get a lawyer. She chose not to. So they are important. If you are a person who is a high income earner, or if you plan on building businesses or expanding for new businesses, I would say you may want to try a prenup. It may be worth your while. But there are conversations when you tell a person, well, before we get married, in the event we get divorced, sign right here. It's a hard conversation to have, but I think it's worth your while to have one. Yeah,
it might kill, the mood for the prenuptial, oh, marry me, please. And the next thing you know, oh yeah, sign this before you take the ring, But
we may need another show on that, on tips on presenting the
20
prenup.
pages of legal paperwork.
But then again, even the marriage part of it, you're bringing contract in to join the two people through the state. So, in one aspect, if they're looking at it coldly, it's just another addendum to the contract almost. But who really looks at it that way besides maybe a couple crazy lawyers, right?
Only lawyers. When people get married, it's religious. If you're religious, or it's emotional, it's spiritual. They don't see it as a contract. They see it as, this is my soulmate.
Right.
Unfortunately, we have something called divorce. So that comes into play quite often. So we have to make sure people are protected. So we do. But you also can do post-nups. Post-nuptials, similar to prenup, the name speaks for itself, is after the actual nuptial. You can actually do a post-nup.
Right.
No, those are harder, and those are very...
That's renegotiation.
Yes, that's renegotiation. After you've been married, you realize, you know what? I'm about to be a big deal. How about you sign right here and limit my exposure? Most people wouldn't agree to that because they'll talk to a lawyer, and the lawyer would say, no, never sign off on that because you're losing interest.
Hassan, is there a time period for a couple that gets married quickly and is there a certain amount of time that you have to be married before all the assets become split in half, or is it soon as the prenups are done?
If you marry on Monday and buy a house on Tuesday, the house is marital property.
Okay.
While you're married, under the bond of marriage, anything you acquire or purchase is marital property. If you buy, people oftentimes don't realize when you buy cars, they're marital property, even though they're titled in one person's name.
Right.
If a person is getting divorced, the wife can say, well, husband, as the case may be, I want the car. Like, well, no, it's my car. No. That car was bought with marital assets, which means it's joint. If I want it to be sold, we can sell it and split the interest, but I want the car. And that does happen from time to time. Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, sometimes if someone gets a car that's their baby, you always hear that story where, one spouse has a car that they were always wanting. The other spouse gets mad because maybe, something went sideways. Then they're like, okay, I want you to sell the car and give me half.
That's a spiteful thing that we see more than you could imagine. The 67 Camaro that the husband's had all his life, and the divorce comes up, and the wife says, she wants to do whatever she can to get that out of his hands.
So, hey, John, do you ever see anybody getting spiteful with insurance policies through that?
Oh, gosh, yeah. But my favorite is when they'll call the office and say, hey, I need to remove my wife from the policy, right away. And if you don't know, we know our clients, and if you don't, I can't imagine some of the companies you call to that don't know the client, whether they're obligated to do what the insured says. But the whole intention is that spouse is trying to pull them off without their knowledge, and that's the worst thing in the world that can happen to someone. You drive around without coverage and not know it. But yeah, they try that all the time. Or, hey, can I get some life insurance on my wife? But I don't want her to know about it. No, you can't do that. So, but yeah, there's a lot of spite going on.
Yeah,
red flag.
Yeah, red flag.
So there was a question that keeps popping up in my practice when we're in the middle of a divorce and it's contested and both spouses are going at it tooth and nail. And then maybe if one of the spouses, right before we go to court, wants to acquire a new piece of property. And you're like, well, who owns the property? Well, this is something maybe you should chime in on, too, because,
So legally, under the standard, marital property is any property acquired during the marriage with a few exceptions. If you acquire the property, even after separation, but before divorce, it's still marital property. However, most judges, from my experience in having trials on these issues, most judges won't use the new acquired property that was acquired after the separation as part of the marital share, but they can, and they probably should, depending on the situation. But yes, don't. So I advise my clients, don't buy anything.
Right.
Quite often they do want to buy houses before they actually get divorced. I say no, don't make it murky. Don't murky the water. Don't give them any more. Just wait until you're divorced, and then you can buy as many houses or businesses or cars after the court date. Until the judge signs off on the order of divorce and the ink is dry, you're not buying anything.
All right, we got to get to a commercial break. After the commercial break, we would welcome your calls. Please give us a call at 410-922-6680 or 1-800-922-6680. We'll be right back after these messages.
WCBM Baltimore.
Synergy Realty Company, LLC, is a boutique real estate brokerage built to serve you. Thinking about selling your home? Sellers just mention this ad to list your home for sale with a 1.5% listing fee, which includes a home staging consultation and professional photography. Call 443-776-1846. We also have buyers covered. If you know a first-time home buyer, have them call 443-776-1846 to sign up for a free home buyer seminar that could save them thousands on closing costs, home inspections, and warranties. Are you a real estate investor? Maximize your portfolio by calling 443-776-1846 to schedule a free consultation. Or visit Synergy Realty Company online at synergyrealtyexperts.com or call them 443-776-1846.
Be part of one of Maryland's treasured traditions. It's the Preakness Balloon Festival, May 11th through May 13th at the Howard County Fairgrounds. This event will include activities aimed toward young children and those young at heart. Activities include handmade crafts, retail and food vendors, Kids Zone, Live music on stage both Friday and Saturday, along with tethered and non-tethered balloon rides. You can even renew your wedding vows and take a balloon ride to celebrate. This event is not to be missed. For more information, go to PreaknessBalloonFestival.com. That's PreaknessBalloonFestival.com. This year's major sponsors are Nathan's Famous Hot Dogs and Wise Markets.
Eat better, spend less. That's why.
This year's Preakness Balloon Festival is brought to you in part by Glory Days Grill, Pearl's Bath and Tile, Chick-fil-A, and by Power Home Remodeling. When you got married, you took a vow to always be there for each other till death do you part. But what if the unthinkable happens? Would your spouse be able to make it alone financially? You need Allstate Life Insurance. Baltimore Allstate agent John Koch can help you get the coverage you need at an affordable price. Call John at 410-931-1476 and ask for a complimentary life insurance review. Are you in good hands? Life insurance offered by Allstate Life Insurance Company, Northbrook, Illinois, and Lincoln Benefit Life Company, Lincoln, Nebraska.
Most doctors are not trained to diagnose and treat hidden car accident injuries like muscle spasms, back pain, neck pain, and headaches. The problem is that soft tissue injuries are not always visible on x-rays. One of the best ways to detect hidden injuries is a thermography scan. Call Dr. Mitch Adolph, D.C. at 1711 York Road, Lutherville, 1-800-511-BACK to schedule your free thermography scan. Space is limited. Call 800-511-BACK today to schedule your free thermography scan.
As a small business owner, keeping up with the ever-changing marketing and social media trends can be difficult and time-consuming. Let SK Creative Solutions take the responsibility off of your plate. At SK Creative Solutions, they offer various marketing services such as social media management, website design, search engine optimization, and graphic design. SK Creative Solutions is a one-stop shop for all of your small business marketing and advertising needs. Grow your business today with the power of social media and website marketing. Visit skcreativesolutions.com for more information.
Have you ever considered a career in radio production, sales, or marketing? It's a fun and challenging profession that helps area business people make the most of their marketing dollars. As a radio professional, you will call on, produce, and or guide businesses and advertising agencies to help them attract new customers, communicate their message, and be part of their marketing team. Email your resume to radiosalesmanager@gmail.com. That's radiosalesmanager@gmail.com.
The views and opinions you hear on Talk Radio 680, WCBM, and WCBM.com are not necessarily those of the owners, management, employers, and advertisers of WCBM. But they should be.
And now more of Law Talk with Bill Sherwood on Talk Radio 680 WCBM and WCBM.com.
Welcome back to Law Talk. We are talking today with Hassan Barnes and, of course, Yosef Cooperman and John Koch. Today our conversation is about family law. And before the break, we were going over some of the ins and outs of some of the more smaller details here of things, what to do. But going forward, you know, my experience has been there's two types of attorneys that I've come across when I've had the fortune, shall we say, of representing someone in a divorce. There's the ones that, you know, are maybe more calm and want to, you know, seem to settle quickly and want to try to make sure we can have things more of an amicable way of going. And you have the others that, you know, throw the gauntlet down on the table and they just, you know, they want to go 20 rounds for whatever reason. You know, and I've been, you know, had the fortune of being in both of them. You know, I prefer the ones where everybody tries to get along. We try to find an amicable way, but, you know, Hassan, I mean, what has been your experience here? Has it been more battles or more settlement or about an even split?
So for my practice, we do litigation as well as we also do arbitration and mediation. I mediate quite a few family law cases, whether as counsel or as a professional mediator. To me, I think it's a better option when your lawyers are able to negotiate. When you're going no hold bars, fighting back and forth, it could be effective, it may not be. But what it will be is expensive. The more lawyers fight and argue back and forth, the more money they're billing you for. You get to a point. I mean, if you have the means and if you think it's worth it, then it could be an option or a strategy you want to take. But for the vast majority of families, fighting aggressively isn't the best way to go, because the lawyer will get very wealthy, and you will have less for you, less for your family, less for your children after the divorce is over.
So I'm always fascinated by the way people interact with their litigation costs. And that's something that, in my insurance law practice, you see, people do a quick math, and usually people sit down, work out how much their claim is worth, and then they work out the cost of litigation, and they balk. Because litigation is really expensive, and they realize that settlement offers, allow them to get their money and go home. But I'm sure that family law is a different way of structuring it, and I've always been curious what the price difference, how much it really costs to have, the no-holds-barred family law litigation that everyone seems to say they want up until they get to see the bill for.
Well, most cases don't get there. After the first bill, they say, hold on, what are you guys doing?
We're willing to negotiate.
Yeah, pull it back some. You guys I was talking to a client yesterday. I called her on Saturday. She's out of state, and we're talking about her options. She hasn't filed for divorce yet, but she wanted to know the numbers. And so we went over how much it would cost for the day of trial, how much for discovery, how much likely for depositions, how much for back and forth. And her response was, there's no way in the world, neither one of us make that kind of money.
Right.
So what are we going to do? It's sobering. I mean, the amount of money a case can cost is sobering. A divorce case can easily go from $20,000 to $50,000 on a pretty basic case if you're being aggressive.
Right.
At my office, we try to do things in a reasonable way. So we give clients the financial understanding as to where things may go and let them decide how aggressive I should or shouldn't be. We can do it either way. We can be aggressive or we can be collaborative. I prefer collaborative. Most of my clients prefer collaborative because they see the numbers. They realize how much money it costs. Sometimes it's not worth it.
The worst case scenario is when you have an attorney on the other side that wants to make mountains out of molehills, blow up discovery costs, say, for no reason at all. And then, they keep coming back at me and my client and making things well out of hand. Where I have a client, wants to settle, whatever, but the other side's like, they just want to go to battle. It's all they want. So you're stuck on the roller coaster ride no matter what. And, meanwhile, the bills are, above tens of thousands of dollars, and they're like, how are we going to do this? Of course, I'll work with the person and try to make it so that, they can afford representation, but it's just a horror story, I mean, they went from, I do and hearts and flowers to next thing you know, this person they trusted, is trying to scalp them financially for everything they have, and what can they do? They're just basically on a crazy train to financial ruin.
When that happens, every time that happens, my client and I have a conversation because they get a bill from me that's higher than they expect. And they call me saying, I won't say what they're saying, but keep in mind they're losing money. So they call me saying, Mr. Barnes, what's going on? And what I say to them is, well, your spouse lawyer is very aggressive. It's going to be expensive. They want to do this, they want to do that, they want to do this. It will be this much more money going forward. They hang up and get on the phone with their soon-to-be ex-spouse. And more often than not, they can rein the other lawyer in. Because they call them and say, you can't afford this either. Your lawyer's filing all these documents and my lawyer's responding. Neither one of them can afford it. I literally had a case settled in court before trial because my client, which was mom, called the husband and say, your lawyer is asking for too much. It doesn't make sense. We can go to trial and get less money. And he agreed, and they got to court, and he told the lawyer, no, we can go ahead and settle right here in front of the judge. We're not going any further. We're not having the full 4-day trial. It doesn't make sense. And they save themselves a lot of money, a lot.
Well, I think with with insurance litigation, what Joseph normally does, he has people that are still somewhere near sane because they don't, they don't have the emotion built into the litigation most of the time. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's
a relative scale.
Right.
I mean, people do care a lot about money, like, they need to get a roof fixed, and they care, and making the deal hurts them the way, having your teeth ripped out would. But I think that and if you had to look at it in a relativeness, people care a little bit about money, but about their acts, that's a level of hatred that no amount of hating on insurance companies will ever produce. I mean, people just they care on such a different level that insurance is comparatively rational. And people still start talking about principle when they're talking about money.
Right.
And, a good lawyer counsels them, and say, no good decision was ever made for principle. And they tend to act more rationally. But with family law from the outside, I think, in family law, people rarely act rationally, if at all. Though, of course, I don't practice it, so that's my outside view as a lawyer looking
You're
at
right.
other people.
They're not rational. They're emotional, they're heartbroken, they're angry, they're upset, they're bitter, they're vindictive. They're happy, they're sad, they have any range of emotions doing family law.
How does the average person find the right attorney for themselves that's not going to be in it for the money and in the best interest of the client?
Good luck.
I'll say this, all lawyers you hire are there for the money. That's their profession.
Me too.
What I tell clients is, even who come see me for consults, shop around. A lawyer is like a doctor. You need to find the right one for you. It's not always a good fit. Meet different lawyers. Talk to them. Go to consults. It may cost you a couple $100 to go visit people and have conversations.
But it's worth it.
It's worth it. Lawyers think different. You communicate different. Expectations are different. Shop around. Most folks don't, but they should shop around.
Well, a lot of the clients' personalities may, either augment or conflict with, the lawyer's personality. So, if you're going to battle with somebody that you're butting heads with already, it's not going to, it's not going to come out well.
I mean, I think in any area of the law, you may have clients that want an outcome different than what the law may provide for.
Right.
With those clients, you kind of talk them through it, but I mean, you do what your client wants. If they want to go a certain way, even though you can advise them the way they're proceeding or what they want is not likely to happen, it's possible. All things are possible. It's not very likely. You still go forward and get the losing result that your client wants, even though they know best.
I've noticed several attorneys that you hear about specialize in working. I like to work with females, or I like to work with males. Do you have a particular specialty that you like to work with? What's your thought on that? Who's easier to work with, the men or the women?
It's the same. I mean, we get all kinds. We get both genders. We get all ethnicities, all religions, and it's pretty consistent. Male, female, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, atheists, they typically have the same issues. They're angry about something their spouse did, and their other background doesn't even come into play. It doesn't even. Their anger is very personal, and so when people are going through divorce, it's personal hurt. It's very emotional. So they react like human beings. They act the same, whether it's male or female or either they're feeling very betrayed, and it's all about how dare this person that I trusted do this to me. And then you get this next thing where, on the other side, it's like, I'm right. I don't care how much it costs. And like, oh, here we go, and I, even though I'm going to get paid by the hour, I hate hearing that because it's not worth it to me because they're going to bring me in and, keep me on that roller coaster ride as well. Hey, I'm there for the ride. It's what I'm getting paid for. But I'd much rather have the collaborative situation where.
I think there's something very bitter about watching people take all their money and throw it away in what is to an outside lawyer perspective a transparently stupid thing to do. It makes no sense.
Right.
Why would somebody go and take $20,000 to $55,000 and be like, I could have a great vacation or buy a new car, and I'll instead give it to a lawyer? I mean, really? And I'm a lawyer, but also really, and it's bitter to watch people wreck their lives like that.
Right. Because
you can tell them, well, what you should do is go and make a quick deal, and you'll be out of here relatively cheaply, relatively fast, and then you can take your money and drink it if you want, but at least you'll be able to use it.
Right.
Instead of paying to go fight with people, and people don't listen. Well, and it's bitter. It's like watching someone train wreck their lives, and you could stop them, and you're like, "Please stop. Here's what you do," and they're like, "No, I want the train wreck."
Right. Yeah. I mean, I actually was at a table with two other attorneys. I was representing one party of a family, and they were, all had their own representation, and it was over, one family member just passed over some knickknacks that they probably got at Walmart, right? And you literally had nearly, well over $1,000 an hour just negotiating over those knickknacks, right? And basically all the attorneys like, you guys really want to go spend the next hour talking about these things? And everybody's like, yeah, we do. I was like, okay, and we went ahead. But I mean, that's when the love and the hate of the side of the coin flips, and they're just pushing so hard, and they can't be rational anymore.
No, I've always wondered if a year afterwards, they wake up and they think about all the money they spent, and they're like, well, I was, they feel like robbed by the lawyer because the lawyer didn't physically restrain them from doing it. Because I can't imagine that once the emotion passes and they all think about it rationally and they're like, well, I could use a $20,000 vacation right now. Oh, wait. Yeah. I can't imagine that anyone winds up happy as a result of that.
Right.
So what's the best advice you could give people that before the anger, or once the anger, should they come to see you prior to things blowing up, or what's the... timeline on that?
Currently, people come in all stages of the process. They come after the divorce has been filed. They may file pro se. They may file with another lawyer and decide that that lawyer isn't the right fit for them. And they may come at the beginning. And I was talking off air that I have currently 3 clients. They haven't filed yet. And they're still living with their spouse. They came to do planning. When years ago, I was at a firm, after law school, and it was a family law firm, and another lawyer called in, and they wanted to run the numbers. Like, tell me, if I leave my spouse today, if they get the kids, how much am I paying child support? We gave them the number, and they decided, we're not getting divorced.
That's that old joke, cheaper to keep her?
Well, in that case, it was him. The lawyer called was a woman lawyer, but it was
cheaper to keep
him. Yes. But those are real considerations. It's better to know what you're getting yourself into. Quite often, when people actually file for divorce, they've been planning it for quite some time. It's not an emergency thing. It's not something you do on a whim. You've planned that for a while. Even when people aren't always faithful, as my thing is, as a divorce lawyer, I very rarely have clients getting divorced because of adultery. It's an ancillary issue. It's the issue they bring up. Yeah. But typically the issues are the same issue that led to the adultery, the communication, the
adultery might just be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Maybe it's true they broke the camel's back, or the result of the communication breakdown between the parties.
All right, we need to take a break for commercial. We'll be back in about 30. Back after these messages. Thanks.
WCBM, Baltimore.
Partly to mostly cloudy, wrapping up the afternoon on this Sunday. Temperatures will hold in the low to mid-60s with the light breeze out of the east. Still dry tonight with a partly cloudy sky and a low dropping down to 46. It will be mostly sunny as we start off the work week on Monday. And temperatures will also run a little bit warmer with a high of 68 degrees. Then clouds will increase Monday night with a slight chance for a shower and a low dropping down to 48. And then a cooler day on Tuesday with rain increasing and a high temperature only topping out in the upper 50s. I'm Jeff Marr from the Weather Channel for Talk Radio 680 WCBM.
If you're currently thinking about buying a home or refinancing your mortgage, it is very important to choose a solid, reputable title company to handle your real estate closing. And one of the best around is Summit Title Company. Summit Title has handled thousands of real estate closings in Maryland since 1985. And they are committed to the highest level of service at competitive fees. They're owned and managed by experienced real estate attorneys who work with a dedicated, professional staff to ensure smooth quality service for each transaction. Summit Title is located in the heart of Towson, but their settlement officers travel to any location in Maryland that is convenient for closing. So if you or someone you know is buying a home or refinancing a mortgage, you should contact Summit Title Company. Their phone number is 410-583-5353, or you can find them online at summittitlecompany.net.
Synergy Realty Company, LLC, is a boutique real estate brokerage built to serve you. Thinking about selling your home? Sellers just mention this ad to list your home for sale with a 1.5% listing fee, which includes a home staging consultation and professional photography. Call 443-776-1846. We also have buyers covered. If you know a first-time home buyer, have them call 443-776-1846 to sign up for a free home buyer seminar that could save them thousands on closing costs, home inspections, and warranties. Are you a real estate investor? Maximize your portfolio by calling 443-776-1846 to schedule a free consultation. Or visit Synergy Realty Company online at synergyrealtyexperts.com or call them 443-776-1846.
Be part of one of Maryland's treasured traditions. It's the Preakness Balloon Festival, May 11th through May 13th at the Howard County Fairgrounds. This event will include activities aimed toward young children and those young at heart. Activities include handmade crafts, retail and food vendors, Kids Zone, live music on stage both Friday and Saturday, along with tethered and non-tethered balloon rides. You can even renew your wedding vows and take a balloon ride to celebrate. This event is not to be missed. For more information, go to PreaknessBalloonFestival.com. That's PreaknessBalloonFestival.com. This year's major sponsors are Nathan's Famous Hot Dogs and Wise Markets.
Eat better, spend less, that's why.
This year's Preakness Balloon Festival is brought to you in part by Glory Days Grill, Pearl's Bath and Tile, Chick-fil-A, and by Power Home Remodeling.
I've heard a lot of people talking about gun control and take away our guns, take away our freedom.
The debate continues.
What's unreasonable with having that conversation?
Talk Radio 680 WCBM.
And now more of Law Talk with Bill Sherwood on Talk Radio 680 WCBM and WCBM.com.
You know, I know I'm a child of the 80s because every time I hear Johnny B. Good, I picture Marty McFly playing on the Back to the Future. Yeah, sorry about the digression there, guys. Back to family law now. So one thing we really haven't got into was custody issues. You know, and I mean that's probably one of the most landmine filled things we can come across when we're having any kind of conversations, hoping to be able to settle anything between two parents. Both parents love their children. They want to keep their children around and want what's best for them. And they may not agree on these things. One of the things that keeps rearing its ugly head with me is I'll get a call from someone where, a parent unilaterally grabs a kid and takes a kid across the state line to go live with mom, dad, cousin, whatever, or just to get away, and then you're like, okay, well, I'm a Maryland attorney. What are we going to be doing with this? I'm sure you've had some fun with that too, Hassan, right?
Yeah, the hard thing is people don't realize custody it's a legal determination. It's not something you naturally have. When two parents have a child, it's two parents and a child. No one has custody. So one parent took the child and left. They're not breaching any court order. They're not breaching any kind of legal mandate. They're taking that child to visit their grandparents or to live somewhere else. There's no explicit legal limitation on you taking your child and going anywhere you want to go. People feel like it is because when its child has been taken away, but unless you went to court and had an order for custody, it's not. If mom took the kid and moved to New Mexico, I guess it's going to be a long plane ride to go see your kids. Right. Because there's nothing you can do. I mean, you can file for custody in the state. Most states provide for custody, provide for jurisdiction over children if they've been there for 6 months. Right. So you may still be able to file in Maryland if she left here and went to New Mexico because they had been here in the prior 6 months. And then you can find it out in Maryland courts as to what's better for the kid to be in New Mexico or to be in Maryland. And some judges will hold the parent who left the state to account because it's not the issue that the child left the parent. It's the issue that the child can't see the parent anymore. That the parent who took the child away deprived that child from seeing the other parent in a way that's unreasonable. So the court may transfer custody to the parent who's in Maryland because they feel like the parent who moved away wouldn't give the child access to the other parent going forward, and that would be a big problem for the court. Yeah.
And I mean, when I'm counseling these people, the first word that comes out is kidnap. They feel like they've been wronged, and they have, but it's almost like a legal void because it hasn't really been explicitly laid out that when one parent unilaterally takes a kid across state lines, that it's an issue. I mean.
Yeah, kidnapping is when someone who does not have the right to have a child takes the child away. Right. Well, if his dad, that's his child, he has the right to have his child. Right. So it's not kidnapping. I mean, quite often we see the Amber Alerts locally. You see Amber Alerts on the news, on your car radio, and on the signs on the highway. It's typically not a parent. And when it is a parent, it's after a custody battle. Normally it's a third party who has the child. They don't do Amber Alerts for spouses or other parents unless there's an order in place because otherwise they're with their parent. The police have no ground to come and take a child from their mother or father because the other parent said so. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard to make, to have that conversation with someone when, they're calling, they're distraught. What are you going to do? It's like, well, we can do, have these remedies here, but you're not going to see the kid on Tuesday unless the other parent brings it back on Tuesday. What I tell parents is quite often you may see one at a time before the person leave. Take the one at a time seriously. If you think your spouse or your other is getting ready to leave with the child, take action then, file in court then, and try to stop the process. Right. To prevent them from taking the child out of state. Because once they're gone, it's very hard to, one, find out where they are. Right. Unless you have the means to actually track them down, you may not know where they are. And then once you find them, then what? If they're in New Mexico and you're trying to get them to come back to Baltimore County for a trial date, that could be quite kind of difficult. So if you know or have warning signs or today, I mean, people on social media, they find out from Facebook and they find out from Twitter, from friends, oh, I'm moving to New Mexico. Right. Well, if she's saying on Facebook she's moving to New Mexico and she has the kids more time than you have, you may want to call a lawyer and get somebody involved.
Yeah. Yes. What was that case where the dad had was it a son or a daughter out of the country and that went on for years and he tried to get
I can't recall his name, but that happened based on international law. Certainly, I have clients all over the world at this point. When there are children in other countries, depending on whether or not that country signed a particular treaty or not, they may not actually send the kid back. So the mere fact that you have an order for custody of your child, if they're in some countries, let's say Japan, you may not see the kid again, because Japan's not going to send the child back. Or if you're in Iran, I had a case where my husband was from Iran, and the idea that he would take the kids to Iran, we knew that if he took them, we wouldn't get the kids back. So that couldn't be something that we could allow to happen.
Yeah. Do the countries normally disallow a parent from seeing? Maybe they won't let the child come back, but can a parent go visit the child, or is it depending on the country, or?
So it's a hard thing. So if you're an American citizen, you go to a foreign country and try to force your way into another person's home who lives in that country, there's a good chance you'll be arrested. Because there's no mechanism for that country to allow you to go visit without the parent who lives there allowing it. It's almost like someone coming here into the U.S. to visit and knock on your front door. You say leave, and you call the police, and you say he or she's from Rotterdam. They're not going any further than that. They're leaving, or they're getting arrested. Right. So when you go to a foreign country, same thing. There's no mechanism. Even if there's an order in place, it doesn't mean the country respects our court order. Mm-hmm. It takes much more effort than that.
What about cases where a parent takes a child and accuses the other of abuse, and maybe there's abuse, maybe there's not abuse? How do you address that?
Unfortunately, that's common. It's common where there's a claim for abuse, whether physical, whether psychological, whether sexual. Whenever there's a claim for abuse, CPS is called. Right. No matter whether it's in this state or any other state in the country, CPS will come. If you're in New Mexico, they will go to New Mexico. They have a branch there. Every state has CPS in some form or duration. They'll go and do evaluation. If there's an issue for a child, the state has an obligation to keep kids safe. So whenever a person claims child abuse, the state is concerned that one of the people that they're supposed to keep safe hasn't been kept safe. So they get involved and they do evaluation. They take the child to the doctors and say, doctor, do the evaluation, see what you can find out. Right. And then CPS gets involved.
Is that something that you would continue with if you were representing a client in a divorce or a separation, but at that point it becomes criminal? Is that something that...
Well, actually, at that point, it's still civil, not criminal yet. Okay. They can do, it's for child abuse, it could be, is multi-layered. So yes, we handle cases where one person has been accused of abuse, and unfortunately, it happens. Parents do abuse kids sometimes, but also sometimes people lie and say abuse happened when it didn't for advantage in the custody case, and you have to fight those cases out. And we fought many where doctors say, "Well, no, there's no abuse, nothing ever happened." It's not true. It's not even on its face. It couldn't be true based on what the person is saying. It couldn't have happened, and you fight it out in court.
Well, I've had situations where there was a parent accused of something, and then we had to, not only go and represent the parent and child in need of, in front of the magistrate, they had a hearing for child in need of assistance with CPS and whole 9 yards. They actually hired an attorney for the child separately, and then also had to go through with the criminal portion of it, try to defend them there, and then also deal with all the divorce stuff. So it ended up being basically a quagmire where, I was going to 5 different courts for the same person under the same set of facts. And I was just like, wow, this really thing spiraled out of control. So people, luckily it wasn't an actual child abuse situation and we were able to figure it all out. But still, it was bad. It was really bad. I felt so bad for this client.
Yeah, get back to your first point of trying to settle these things up front amicably is the way to go, right?
Yeah, and I'll say, Bill, in the future, you get that case, call me. We've done many of those cases where the criminal side, the family law side, the Senate side, and the CPS side. Yeah. So it can go on for quite some time.
Yeah, well, we bringing up all the reserves we can on those kind of headaches.
Yes.
So we're getting ready to go to yet another break. Please, we are hoping to hear from people to call in. If you have any questions about family law or anything related to family law, chime in. 410-922-6680, 1-800-922-6680. We'll be back after these messages.
WCBM. Baltimore.
Synergy Realty Company, LLC, is a boutique real estate brokerage built to serve you. Thinking about selling your home? Sellers just mention this ad to list your home for sale with a 1.5% listing fee, which includes a home staging consultation and professional photography. Call 443-776-1846. We also have buyers covered. If you know a first-time home buyer, have them call 443-776-1846 to sign up for a free home buyer seminar that could save them thousands on closing costs, home inspections, and warranties. Are you a real estate investor? Maximize your portfolio by calling 443-776-1846 to schedule a free consultation. or visit Synergy Realty Company online at synergyrealtyexperts.com or call them 443-776-1846.
Spice up your wardrobe with Needlepoint. Baldwin Belts is a Baltimore-based needlepoint company offering Maryland-themed and other various custom-designed belts as well as accessories. All their products are 100% hand-stitched, handmade, and are guaranteed to last. Choose from one of Baldwin Belt's unique designs or customize your own belt to tell your individual story. Their custom-made products make great wedding gifts and graduation presents. Have a big event coming up? Customize a key fob to use as promotional product or gift item. Visit BaldwinBelts.com for more information.
Most doctors are not trained to diagnose and treat hidden car accident injuries like muscle spasms, back pain, neck pain, and headaches. The problem is that soft tissue injuries are not always visible on x-rays. One of the best ways to detect hidden injuries is a thermography scan. Call Dr. Mitch Adolph, D.C. at 1711 York Road, Lutherville, 1-800-511-BACK to schedule your free thermography scan. Space is limited. Call 800-511-BACK today to schedule your free thermography scan.
Listen up, Baltimore sports fans. Join former stars of ABC reality show The Ball Boys each Sunday, 4 p.m. to 5 on Talk Radio 680 WCBM, talking all things Baltimore sports and beyond. Brought to you by Robbie's First Base, home of the Ball Boys.
And now more of Law Talk with Bill Sherwood on Talk Radio 680 WCBM and WCBM.com.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking some issues with family law and child custody. And we had a couple of things that popped up off the air that we should probably share. Hassan, you were talking about some issues where someone was accused of child abuse.
Yeah, so certainly in cases for custody, there's maybe too often claims for abuse from one parent to another. When there's a claim for abuse, CINA gets involved with CPS, Children Protective Services, or depending on what county you're in, it has a different name, but they get involved. And then maybe what's called a CINA hearing, as you mentioned earlier, where there will be a hearing and trial to see whether or not the parents can take care of the child or whether the child's at risk. If the court finds the child's at risk, they'll be taken out the home. If they found they're not of risk, then the case will be dropped and dismissed. But there's also a CPS portion as well that finds whether or not abuse happened. And they do that for the purposes of keeping people who shouldn't be around kids from kids. So they may find the finding could be indicated for child abuse, or substantiated child abuse. It could be unsubstantiated, which means abuse may have happened, but we can't prove it, or it could be ruled out that we found that nothing happened. So those are two separate investigations, as well as criminal investigation. If you assault a person in this state, you can be charged with assault. So you may have all three going on at the same time. I had one case was all three, and it was the custody matter. So the fourth portion, the parent wanted custody of the child because there was claims of abuse. We had a full trial in both courts, and no judge found the abuse happened.
Right.
But it took a lot of time and money to get to that point.
Right.
But I'll say this, what often happens, we see more of those claims through protective orders. Protective order is a method where a party can go to the court to request relief or reprieve from a spouse or a partner from abuse, if there's a claim of abuse in the actual spouse or your mutual child. If there's a finding of abuse, the court can order you away. So say you're a married couple, husband, wife, and a kid. If mom acts in a way that's inappropriate and dad goes for a protective order and the court finds that the mom abused the child and or dad, the court can keep mom out the house for up to a year, even though she has to pay the mortgage, even though that mortgage comes due every single month. Even though her name is on the deed and she has a legal interest to be there, once the court say you can't be here for safety, then she's barred out the house. And that happens more often than people think.
Yeah, and also, too, a lot of people don't realize when they're going into those protective orders, if they're trying to defend against one, if they go and lose against that, there may be some other criminal repercussions for someone when they try to defend and they lose, that protective order comes into play. There may be some criminal penalties that can come on them as well. So a lot of times, if I've been on both sides of protective order where I had clients, want to get a protective order against someone, or I was also trying to help defend them. And, if I'm with a client and it's unsubstantiated, I'm like, we don't know what to do with it. A lot of times we'll say, just agree to stay away for the next year. And that way it's a settlement. It doesn't work against you as something that's criminal. and then we'll try to work around this through the other, all the other aspects of the divorce and the custody hearings. One of the other things that you brought up was the lack of defined statute of limitations about some of these allegations. You said you had a case where it was, 20 or 25 years ago, someone made an allegation and they're just coming back on that. What was?
So for a protective order case, for a peace order, I think there's a limit. I think it's 6 months for a peace order. Right. You can't go beyond that. I think for a protective order, it's more than a year, but it's still a cap on how long you can go back. I was mentioning over the break, I have a client where a CPS has brought a claim for abuse, and it happened years and years ago. Right. And there's no defined statute of limitations on those decisions. They should be done in a reasonable time frame, but what's reasonable? Is reasonable 6 months? Is it a year? Is very subjective. Depending on who, in my mind, the law should be very definite. You should know what you're facing and what time frame you have for it. It shouldn't be a surprise. Like, oh, surprise! You did this 25 years ago and now we're coming after you. You should know, very easily. It should be easily discernible what timeline they have, and it's not always.
No, it captures a little bit of an absurdity in having a trial about events that happened so long ago. Like there's a case when I was in law school, a case came down called, it was the Unger v. State. Unger had murdered a police officer in like the late 70s. And he'd been incarcerated, and if you read the opinion, he was arrested because, among other things, they found that that officers put bullets in him because they were in a shootout, and that officer had shot him back. So he got convicted. I'm shocked. And he winds up in 2010, he challenges the retroactive unconstitutionality of jury instruction, and he gets a new trial. And they essentially, this court said that we're going to retry everyone who's still in jail who was incarcerated before 1980. And the real problem that you might think, with Unger, they have a ton of evidence because he shot a police officer. It was a high-profile trial. But trying someone with something that happened that long ago, most people in that situation got deals because you can't try someone for some event that happened in 1980. How's that going to look when you guys them? Do you remember where you were in 1980? No. I'm not sure where I was that whole decade.
Right.
It's, and I think that with the lack of statute of limitations, it puts people in a position where, people have trouble remembering where they were last year, and to have a trial about what happened 7 years ago or 10 years ago, it's like, who can remember?
Yeah, and I have some experience with the Innocence Project where I was at the University of Baltimore, and we're going back all these old cases where something really weird happened and someone is sitting in jail that may not have actually done something wrong. And, you're looking at things from a long time ago, but then it's anything they can do to make it so that the court system is better on that, I'm all for. But when we're switching back into the family law thing, it still seems absurd to be able to have something that far back come back and haunt you. All right, so we looks like we have yet another commercial break. We're going to be coming back after the 3 o'clock hour for our last segment. Thanks a lot.
The views and opinions you hear on Talk Radio 680, WCBM, and WCBM.com are not necessarily those of the owners, management, employers, and advertisers of WCBM. But they should be.
Talk Radio 680, WCBM.
Stay connected and stay informed on the #1 news talk station, Talk Radio 680, WCBM, Baltimore, and WCBM.com.
Two presidents get together. I'm Paul Stevens, Fox News. President Trump welcoming France's Emmanuel Macron for a visit this week with a nuclear hotspot front and center. More live now with Fox's Gunal Scott.
And Paul, French President Macron touched on several issues in his Fox News Sunday interviews, Syria and Russia among them, but a possible U.S. summit with North Korea, he says, could signal a worldwide turning point. Macron says he sees sanctions and not verbal insults from President Trump as what brought Kim Jong-un to the table.
Pressure
put in this region, plus the Chinese role in this region, because President Trump worked very closely with President Xi, was useful.
Macron touches down in the U.S. tomorrow for a 3-day visit, including a formal state dinner and a speech to a joint session of Congress, Paul.
Angered all police saying that a deadly pre-dawn shooting today at a Waffle House restaurant outside Nashville could have been a whole lot worse if not for the actions of one brave customer.
You had a citizen step up to intervene with an active shooter, and that's what this man did. He is the hero here, and no doubt he saved many lives by wrestling the gun away and then tossing it over the counter and prompting the man to leave.
Nashville police spokesman Don Aaron, police saying the suspect opened fire with a rifle, killing 4 people, injuring several others. He then left on foot. Police are looking for 29-year-old Travis Reinking, who they call a person of interest. We're expecting an update at this hour. A Russian lawyer denying she discussed incriminating evidence about Hillary Clinton with Donald Trump Jr. during his father's 2016 campaign. She tells the AP that special counsel Robert Mueller has not contacted her. She thinks he's not interested in finding the truth. Natalia Veselnitskaya also detailing her recent meeting in Berlin with the Senate Intelligence Committee, which is investigating allegations of Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. election as well. You're listening to Fox News, fair and balanced.
I'm in almost every school bus and classroom. I go to school with your children. We say the Pledge of Allegiance together. You see me around the neighborhood, and you tell me that I'm a pretty good kid. Well, I'm one out of every 5 children in America, and I'm struggling with hunger. This problem is closer than you think. My teacher tells me we can grow up to be whatever we want. I want to grow up to be someone who doesn't go to bed hungry. There's enough food in this country to feed everybody. Please visit feedingamerica.org today and find your local food bank for ways to help. Every dollar you donate helps provide 8 meals for kids like me, quietly struggling with hunger. Together, we are Feeding America, brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
A major New York university kicking out one of its frats.
It's the end of the line for Theta Tau at Syracuse University after frat members posted a video which the school's chancellor says was extremely racist, anti-Semitic, homophobic, and hostile to people with disabilities. And the school is pursuing an investigation into the individuals responsible. The frat says the video was a satirical sketch, but it apologized, saying its members believe racism has no place on a university campus. The video includes racial slurs and simulated sex acts. Initially, Theta Tau was suspended, but that was increased to a permanent expulsion. Roger Stern, Fox News.
A gathering today on a beach in Maine to remember former First Lady Barbara Bush, who was buried yesterday in Texas. Mrs. Bush and former President George H.W. Bush spent years at their summer home in Kennebunkport. About 200 people formed a large circle, many with their dogs, sharing stories about their encounters with Mrs. Bush on the beach, where she used to walk her dogs with a Secret Service agent following behind. Harry Potter flies onto Broadway.
Harry Potter and the Cursed Child officially opens today on Broadway at the Lyric Theatre after a successful run in London. The new story is the 8th installment of the series written by Jack Thorne, John Tiffany, and Potter creator J.K. Rowling. The story follows Harry, now an adult with a family of his own, and in the Wizarding World government.
Albus Severus Potter. You were named after 2 headmasters of Hogwarts.
It's his son Albus's first year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and he's quickly learning having one of the most famous wizards as your father comes with a price, and dark secrets emerge affecting Albus and the entire Potter family. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
Gasoline prices up 9 cents a gallon over the past 2 weeks to a nationwide average $2.83 a gallon for regular. That's according to the Lundberg survey. I'm Paul Stevens, Fox News Radio.
Stimulating talk, breaking news on Talk Radio 680. WCBM.
Message and data rates may apply.
When did it become okay for men to be lazier, softer, fatter? We need to bring the men of this country back to greatness. And it's easier than ever with Ageless Male Max, a patent-pending formula with an ingredient that helps boost your total testosterone, promoting greater increases in muscle size and twice the reduction of body fat percentage than exercise alone. Plus, an amazing 64% increase in nitric oxide, which can be handy in the gym and in the bedroom. Take your manhood to the max by trying your first 30-day bottle free. Just pay shipping and handling. Not 10 days, not 15 days, but a full 30-day supply free when you text the word FAST to 797979. Finally, a formula that boosts total testosterone. If your results with Ageless Male Max are too intense, please decrease use. For your free bottle, text FAST to 797979. Text FAST to 797979.
When the need for senior care arises, there's no place like home. Your loved ones should never have to give up living at home. Visiting Angels will provide home care for your mom or dad at home up to 24 hours per day, including personal care, meals, and light housework. You'll select your professional caregiver with Visiting Angels. Look up visitingangels.com or call 877-374-LIVE. That's 877-374-LIVE. Franchises are available. Visiting Angels, America's choice in senior home care.
Broadcasting live from the WCBM Safe Retirement Solutions studios. Call Rod Barowie at 410-266-1120 or on the web at saferetirementsolutions.com.
Talk Radio 680 WCBM.
Law Talk with Bill Sherwood is brought to you by Sherwood Legal Services.
The lawyers on air are not able to give advice about any given person's legal problem over the air. Giving legal advice requires confidentiality. Attorney-client privilege won't protect conversations literally being broadcast from a radio. If you call into this show, the attorneys don't represent you unless you sign a retainer. No paperwork, no representation. You have no expectation of privacy or attorney-client privilege on a call. This is a live broadcast. It does not get less confidential than this. The attorneys can't predict how any given legal matter will turn out. Lawyers give legal advice. They can't give you tailored advice about your legal problems without an in-person interview. Please call in with your general legal questions.
And now more of Law Talk with Bill Sherwood on Talk Radio 680 WCBM and WCBM.com.
Getting serenaded by the perfect song from Meatloaf. Thanks, Noah, for helping us out back there. So we should probably get into a little bit of a conversation about, excuse me, about funding child support here. Hassan, I know you have a lot of experience with this. Where are we going?
So in Maryland, like in most states, parents have a maybe moral obligation, but a legal obligation to take care of their children. The law provides that you must provide for your children financially. The idea that you're a good person and you take them out to the park and push them on a swing isn't sufficient. If parents are living in separate domiciles, the parent that doesn't have the majority of the time with the child, or the parent that makes the most money may and likely will have obligation to pay support to the other parent. Child support can be it can be a small amount, it can be a very large amount. I have clients who pay and who receive child support more in excess of a normal mortgage payment. I mean, it can be from anywhere from $2,000 a month, it could be $3,000 for one child. Right. Or it could be $200. That's on the very low end, but for middle class families, it could be a sizable amount of money per month for support.
Well, there's a lot of factors too. They look at the income of both spouses. They look at the income situation maybe for the last few years, and then maybe and also too, they can even see if there's going to be any kind of expectation of an increase or decrease sometimes. I know they try to make sure that everybody's treated fairly by putting them into this grid, but a lot of times it can end up just being negotiated out by the parties as well. So
in Maryland, they have, years ago, you have to go to court and prove what support you needed for a child. So you had to go to court and you had to show bills of tuition payments or bills of dentist payments and bills of, I guess, gas and electric. They got away with that years ago. Now they have what's called a guideline. And the guideline is a formula. They take two parents' incomes. They take additional numbers such as if you're receiving or paying alimony, if you're receiving or paying child support for another child, if you're paying daycare costs or child care costs, if you're paying health insurance for the child, and a few other maybe extra healthcare costs for extraordinary medical condition, and they throw it into the formula and spit out a number. the person who doesn't have the children most of the time, or the person who makes the most money, depending on how the numbers work, may have to pay support. And it's a very basic number. It's a very blind number. They throw numbers into a formula and spit out a number for your support. Now, child support doesn't mean you have no additional obligation for the child.
Right.
And I think parents feel like it does. It doesn't. The fact that you pay, say your dad, you pay mom $1,000 a month for child support, it doesn't mean when you're with the child and they want a new pair of shoes, you're not buying a new pair of shoes.
Right.
It doesn't mean if they call you and say, Dad, we got a school trip going to France, mom paying $2,000, we need two from you as well. It doesn't mean you're not paying another $2,000 on top of that for the trip to France. I mean, it's just it's the minimum amount of money that you pay for a child. I have many clients who push back, and their position is the support amount is too high. That the actual amount they're paying far exceeds the needs for the child. That mom or dad is paying mortgage anyway. They're paying gas and electric anyway. They're paying water bill. So they pay $1,000 a month. Where is the money going? And the kid's not in private school. So why are they paying $1,000 a month? It's unfair. It may seem unfair. That's the law.
Right.
And it's very rare the court will let you out of it. Now, if you're too high income earners, the guidelines have a limit, and the court can have more discretion when your income is higher. They can give or push back on the formula of sum because you're high income earners. Now, as far as parents opting out and negotiating out of the child support guidelines, you can legally you can. Unfortunately, I've seen many judges around the state push back on it and want a good. So under the law, you must show a reason why it's not in the child's best interest. So the reason I've had clients who say that, well, we can give a lesser number, and the question is that lesser number in the child's best interest? And if you can't show a judge why giving the child, so it's always a hard thing. Explain to the judge why you giving more money to your son or daughter is in your son or daughter's best interest. It's almost never a good way to explain that. I mean, so it's a hard thing. I mean, sometimes it is a good way. I mean, you may show that.
It sounds like a hard sell.
It's a hard sell. I mean, it's cases where you can show it, but it's very few and far between. And most people wouldn't meet the burden to deviate from the guidelines and have a lower number.
I mean, the only thing that would pop in my mind would be is, this $300 that I'm not paying, I'm going to put into, put away for the child's education. It's going to earn money that way or something like that. But that's the only thing that would pop in my mind that might pass muster on this test. But
I bet if you told the court that, then the court's going to order you to do it, and then from your perspective, you're not coming out ahead on this.
Well, I mean, I guess if your perspective is you don't want the other spouse to get their grubby hands on that money, then putting it into but that's where people they go real dark on that. So
I mean, some parents have their kids in special programs. So the parent who's paying support may also have their kid being trained as a classical pianist, and that can be expensive. So the court may say, "You know what? You're training the kid separate from child support. We'll give you a break on the child support. Keep on paying the $1,000 to the private lessons, and we'll cut you back on child support." I mean, those are options. One other consideration is tuition. Now, daycare costs are part of child support. If you're paying before and after care, that's part of child support. If you're paying daycare for a small child, but tuition doesn't have to be. If you're paying for Friends or Gilman or St. Paul's,
you might as well be buying a Toyota Camry per
you're paying
kid
$25, $35 a year.
Home.
It's the guidelines in the law does not require the paying parent to actually pay towards that tuition, but it might, and it's a tricky thing. And when the court makes you pay towards tuition, I had a case where my client was mom. She put the kid in a very expensive private school. The kid was gifted and talented, and it was very but dad never agreed to it. So their position was, and they wanted him to pay, I think, $1,900 a month, maybe $2,200 a month, between 19 and 22 for one child. His position was, that's unreasonable. It doesn't. I didn't agree to her going to the school, but the court made him pay anyway. The court found that the young person had special needs, and that she was gifted and talented. She needed a school that can suit her needs, and only school that can suit it was a private school. So it was reasonable.
Can an amount change if life change happens?
Yes.
Okay.
The standard for modification.
Yes. And the standard for modification, child support or custody, we mentioned in the prior segment, is a change of circumstances. Anything to change substantially. If you say you're paying child support and you're paying $1,000 a month, and you get laid off, that's a change in circumstances that the court needs to be aware of, because you can't continue to pay $1,000 a month with no income.
Isn't the guideline like 25% if there's a 25% change in the income, or is that just like a rough number?
That number has been stated. I never followed that number. I'm not sure where it came from. I mean,
I keep hearing it a lot. I'm like,
no, but there's a lot of stuff in law where everyone says it, and then you ststart saying, well, who said it first, and no one can find out.
I mean, it may be case law. I don't use that number. I don't even consider the percentage of change. I consider, because normally when you change jobs, it changes more than actual income.
Right.
So it's a bigger picture for me than the actual number.
Right. I mean, it may change the situation where one parent's not able to take the kid to school back and forth because they're working longer hours. Right. And even if it's just a a slight change in income, but the whole other situation has changed, then we got to really go back and readdress the whole situation.
Yeah, so I don't look at it based on 25% number. I look at it based on the actual factors. No, it's a couple of things. Child support is done either through the court. When you hire a lawyer like myself or you or Bill, you don't do family law, but
dodge the bullet.
You're in court and you try a case and the judge make a decision on child support. But some parents go through child support enforcement, and they can have their lawyers do the child support for them. Although they're not being hired as a lawyer for the parent, they're there for the child, actually.
Right, yeah.
Because the state has an obligation to take care of young people, they provide lawyers for child support. What that means is the person receiving child support, they're their lawyer. By all intents and purposes, they're their lawyer. And they can request child support, and typically they won't modify it unless it's been a certain change by 25%. That's normally their rule. But I'm not sure even for them it's hard and fast.
I guess you don't get a whole lot of people coming to you, hey, I got a huge pay raise, so I want to come in and make an adjustment to my child support. Never happened.
That was when the spouse hears about the pay raise, and they go on social media and see him with a new car or something or other. By the way,
So be careful what you do on social media. Right?
And one thing I'll say is a lot of my clients don't understand and think it's unreasonable. I was in court years ago. I was waiting for another hearing. A gentleman was in court for child support. Child support enforcement was there for the mother. And he was, I think he was a plumber, and I think that year he made additional overtime, so his income went up some.
Right.
Oh. So, but he was remarried. He had 2 more kids at home. One of his kids was gifted and talented, so he went to a special school. And his ex was there with her current husband and the child, and they wanted an increase. And his position was, well, I made additional money this year, but there's overtime. I can't guarantee that.
Right.
After the lawyer questioned him about his wife working and stuff that wasn't even relevant, his position again was, well, it's overtime. Why are we including overtime as my income? It's not guaranteed. Right. I'm not self-employed. I work for a company. 2 years ago, I didn't get any overtime. I got some this year, but it's not guaranteed. Under the law, when you make overtime, the court is considered that your income. So if you make 20 hours of overtime in 2018, you go to court, they will see going forward your whole income. They don't just say how much was your regular. Wow. They want the whole amount.
Right. And then if it drops back again next year, you're going to be back in there again fighting over, okay, now,
Yeah.
It's funny when you go to get a mortgage, they don't count overtime, right? So they do it.
Child support, they count every single time. For child support purposes, and the court don't often do this, but under the statute, they can include more than that. Any gift you receive can be assumed as child support. It's income for child support. They can include more income and more revenue than they actually include.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always seems to be a balancing act, and for me, it keeps coming back to, let's all try to have a good settlement conference and try to get everybody on the same page. Because when, if you get the state involved, they're going to come up with some kind of outcome that maybe neither party likes, So at least if there's a conversation where everyone is maybe coming together. I've settled, child support things before where we've cut the amount by maybe $800, $900 per month for the next few years by being able to fund some sort of, lump sum down payment or something or other that everybody's happy with, not all situations have to resolve by going to the state. That's just, I think it's like the last ditch effort to try to squeeze that one non-paying parent for what they should be.
Touching back to how we started the show, when you look at the cost, having a modification hearing means a lot of lawyer time and a lot of cost, and doing it every time anyone's income changes significantly means you're going to have to keep on doing that until everyone's turned 18, and then you'll still be recriminating, but you won't be able to get to court. They'll keep you out. But if you just settle the deal, then you might be able to settle it. And if you continue to, negotiate, paying for a settlement is a lot cheaper for a mediation conference is a lot cheaper than paying for a court date.
Right.
And one of the factors for my clients is quite often they come in, if they're dealing with child support enforcement, which is a state agency, I won't take the case. I can't, because I will bill you more money trying to reach a state lawyer and negotiate with them than the case is worth. If I'm billing you $5,000 to have conversations getting through on the phone, and you're saving $200 a month, it doesn't quite make sense.
I have some horror stories about that, too, and we'll touch more about that after this.
WCBM, Baltimore.
Synergy Realty Company, LLC, is a boutique real estate brokerage built to serve you. Thinking about selling your home? Sellers just mention this ad to list your home for sale with a 1.5% listing fee, which includes a home staging consultation and professional photography. Call 443-776-1846. We also have buyers covered. If you know a first-time home buyer, have them call 443-776-1846 to sign up for a free home buyer seminar that could save them thousands on closing costs, home inspections, and warranties. Are you a real estate investor? Maximize your portfolio by calling 443-776-1846 to schedule a free consultation. Or visit Synergy Realty Company online at synergyrealtyexperts.com or call them 443-776-1846.
Hey there, it's Reese.
And Irvy.
From the franchise concept, Reese and Irvy's. Our patented frozen yogurt vending robots serve 7 flavors of delicious frozen yogurt.
We're officially labeled one of the hottest franchise opportunities of 2018, and you could own one.
No employees, no rent, just fully automated robots that work for you and deliver instant customer satisfaction.
Find openings in your area at froyofranchising.com and enter promo code 9090. That's froyofranchising.com, promo code 9090.
Go like a pro with the biggest savings of the season during the GMC Spring Sales Drive at Anderson Buick GMC Hunt Valley. Save thousands on Baltimore's best selection of new GMC trucks and SUVs, like up to $7,000 off the all-new GMC Terrain, or up to $8,000 off Acadias. And right now, take up to $12,000 off GMC Sierra pickups. It's the GMC Spring Sales Drive at Anderson Buick GMC Hunt Valley, 10125 York Road, or visit AndersonofHuntValley.com. GMC, we are professional grade.
Hi, Tom Bodette, coming to you from one of those open offices. They're designed to make it easier to share ideas and, apparently, the details of Cody the intern's love life. So if you're looking for some space to call your own, try Motel 6. They have the low prices you've come to expect, plus the peace and quiet you so desperately crave. I'm Tom Bodette from Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you. And Cody, you can do better. Book online at motel6.com.
As a small business owner, keeping up with the ever-changing marketing and social media trends can be difficult and time-consuming. Let SK Creative Solutions take the responsibility off of your plate. At SK Creative Solutions, they offer various marketing services such as social media management, website design, search engine optimization, and graphic design. SK Creative Solutions is a one-stop shop for all of your small business marketing and advertising needs. Grow your business today with the power of social media and website marketing. Visit skcreativesolutions.com for more information.
When the need for senior care arises, there's no place like home. Your loved ones should never have to give up living at home. Visiting Angels will provide home care for your mom or dad at home up to 24 hours per day, including personal care, meals, and light housework. You'll select your professional caregiver with Visiting Angels. Look up visitingangels.com or call 877-374-LIVE. That's 877-374-LIVE. Franchises are available. Visiting Angels, America's choice in senior home care.
Stimulating talk. Breaking news on Talk Radio 680, WCBM, and WCBM.com.
I'll never break my promise or forget my vow. But God only knows what I can do right now. I'm praying for the end of time. That's all that I can do. Praying for the end of time so I can end my time with you.
And now more of Law Talk with Bill Sherwood on Talk Radio 680 WCBM and WCBM.com.
The Meatloaf serenading us in right at the right point of the song right there. Thanks again, Noah. Before the break, we brought up about some of the horror stories that pop up when you're dealing with child support enforcement with the state. There's been plenty of times that, I'll be sitting down there with a client or on behalf of a client, and I'm just basically twiddling my thumbs for 2 or 3 hours, waiting. The bill is just increasing because state employees, you have to wait your turn. They don't give any special passes to the lawyers. You're sitting there, and if things have went back, and through child support enforcement, you're in for the long haul, and it's just a rough ride. And I think also, John, you had a question that you brought up over the off the air.
I was, as the only non-attorney in the room here, I just, from an outsider looking in, it seems to me that, an important part of this whole issue, if you're going to go through this process, is finding the right attorney. And my question was, do all attorneys have a fiduciary responsibility like we do on the financial side of things? You're supposed to do what's in the best interest of the client. So how does that work?
So for lawyers, our obligation is to, the client tells us what they want, and it's up to us to figure out how we get there. So a client can't make us take certain actions if we think is contrary to what they want. in reality, we often do things that our client wants, but we're the ones who determine the strategy and they determine the outcome. The hard thing is for child support is a special case because they want to reduce child support. It's not happening. So, I mean, it's possible in a realm of possibilities. It's a likely no.
You're not going to avoid child support.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell them, I can possibly get it down with your facts. It's a good chance you won't. It's 1% chance you will. Go for it. Right. So in that situation, you have to advise them clearly what the options are. And in my office, we do guidelines. We run the numbers before we even go to court. Before they even say, go forward, we run the numbers and say, what are you looking at? Here are the options. Here's the good, the bad, the in between. Mm-hmm. And we run the options. The hard thing is dealing with child support enforcement. If a client comes in and say, I'm back on my child support, my license has been suspended, I'm in contempt of child support, I have a hearing coming up and I might go to jail for it. What should I do? My response is going to be pay child support. Your money is better spent paying child support than paying me. Now, if it's a situation where there has been a change and you need to modify, the modification can be a defense to the contempt. And then we get in for modification cases. Right. But the actual not paying child support, it's no defense you have other than you need to modify because you lost your job.
Right.
So I wouldn't even take a client's case. I would say use your money you have that you will pay me and go pay some money to a child support to avoid going to jail.
Yeah, I like that. I think you had mentioned that during the break that you'll actually turn down a case based on the fact that that client could spend more money with you than it's worth. So that's a good, I'm not sure that happens across the.
Well, getting back to the fiduciary part of it too, when you have these attorneys that just want to battle, I don't think they're necessarily doing what's in the client's best interest by keeping settlements from happening. Like I'm involved in a few of those right now where they, everybody's just throwing the gauntlets down and there's no reason, and it drives me crazy. But they're not doing what's best for their clients. Yeah. And Yosef, I cut you off. I'm sorry.
I think that the dynamic of kind of the drive when you have especially on hourly rate matters, and family law is always done or almost always done hourly rate. Insurance, my business is often done hourly rate. There's a constant dynamic between the lawyer being the more the legal services the lawyer sells you, the more the lawyer gets paid. And we certainly, in our practice spend, part of our philosophy is that if we can't find a way that the client made money on this, then we don't take people who are doing it because they have a vague desire to lose all their wealth and they don't know how, and they think that this will somehow accomplish it. I mean, we don't take people's money when you can't produce a result.
Right.
Because usually and you see that in certain kinds of complaints about insurance claim handling in my work. You see that about certain small insurance claims where we're looking at and we say we cannot charge you to do this. We charge you to do this work. You might recover maybe your $5,000 claim, but pursuing this case will cost you $10,000. And if I do my job well, then you will have negative $5,000. And in that circumstance, a good lawyer doesn't take the case. Yeah. And I'm sure there are some lawyers who will, but, good lawyers won't.
I hate having to have the conversation where I'm managing the client's expectation. Like, they want, the sun, moon, and the stars. And I don't know if it's legally able to get them the sun, moon, and the stars. Mm-hmm. And we have to talk them down. And then, they start talking about the economics of it all. They may not have the money for the sun, moon, and the stars. Maybe they have the money for maybe a shooting star. But, it's a hard conversation to have with everybody. And I'm sure you've had that conversation often too, right?
I mean, it's for child support purposes in particular, they want – some people – I had a client come in. He came in for child support. He paid, in my mind, a small amount. I think it was $200 or $300 a month. It may have been 2 kids. At the time he got the award, it was an older award prior to the change in the guidelines. And he wanted the award reduced. He wanted less money. I told him, there's no way in God's green earth you're getting less money than you're paying less than you're paying now. We go to court, they're going to increase your amount. So yes, in those cases, we do turn clients away because it doesn't make sense.
Well, I do want to thank Hassan for coming in and helping us explore this conversation. I want to thank Yosef and John, as always, for being here with me. Thanks for tuning in this week, and we'll see you next week on Law Talk with Bill Sherwood. Also keep an eye out for our website, law-talk.show, and also visit me at wsherwoodlaw.com. Thanks for checking in, and we'll hope to see you here next week. Have a great week.
Talk Radio 680 WCBM.